So, Tales of Arcadia, Guillermo del Toro's CG animated children's sci-fi fantasy Netflix series. Series? Connected universe? It's a whole thing. See, I watched the show, and the next show, and the other show, and the follow-up movie, and, I have got some stuff to say. So, let's just get right into it. I am an amateur elf. Welcome to my enchanted forest. Beware spoilers ahead. Although, full disclosure, I will be assuming that since you're watching this, you have at least seen most, if not all of, at least the first show. Anyway, I really enjoyed TrollHunters, especially the first season or so, though I didn't really like how serialized it became in the end. I mean, my main problem with the show wasn't so much the presence of the plots, but just the sheer amount of them. Their hurried progression and lackluster resolutions. Personally, I would have been perfectly happy with the villain of the week thing they had going on in the early episodes, but no. And then Merlin comes in, and Jim turns into a half-troll, and honestly, the ending was just kind of meh. And 3 Below came out, and I watched that because as much as I was not particularly happy with how the TrollHunters is wrapped up, I was perfectly happy to revisit Arcadia Oaks and meet some new characters. I'd had fun. Besides, maybe it would have a better ending. And it did. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't what I would have asked for necessarily. It was a little weird to me how they wound that up, with Aja returning to their home planet and Krell staying behind. I mean, of the two, Aja seemed to have more to keep her on Earth, what with her weird romance thing with Palchuk. But I guess Krell had less reason to go back. But at least it was something resembling a resolution to their story. And then I was surprised when Wizards came out. I mean, they had to bring aliens into the mix to continue the story with 3 Below. What more did they have to cover? Anyway, you know that band member that flirted with Claire that one time? Yeah, it turns out he's a wizard in training, from Arthurian times. Merlin's apprentice, to be precise. His name is Isidux, Dukesy for short. This is his familiar, whose name escapes me. They've been practicing magic for thousands of years while guarding Arcadia Oaks from magical threats and waiting, watching, hoping for Merlin's return. So Dukesy can finally earn his wizard staff. Fair enough. We open shortly after the events of 3 Below. Jim comes back and there's a shadow crystal embedded in his heart, and it's making him lose control and also slowly killing him. They time travel back to Arthurian times. Okay. For some reason, I don't remember why. Maybe it was an accident. I don't remember. Half-troll Jem gets arrested because, hey, turns out Morgan Le Fay is a good person in this timeline and she just wants to accept trolls, or at least the not-evil trolls, and magic into society. And King Arthur, yes, that King Arthur, is just kind of a terrible person and is racist against trolls and all magical beings because reasons. What reasons? They never tell us. Over the course of this escapade into the past, our heroes manage to incidentally cause all the major events depicted in the world building from way back in TrollHunters. And time travel is canonically established to work on the stable time loop paradigm. This will be important later. Also, Palchuk, who, over the previous 2 series, had gotten a proper redemption arc and been thoroughly characterized as a real himbo, becomes even more moronic, if that's even possible. Anywho, they make it back to the present, where they face down 2 primordial elemental sorceresses, one ice, one fire, who want to destroy the Earth and reboot it to factory settings, because humans bad, nature good, I guess? Now, there are actually 3 primordial elemental sorceresses. But the third one, whose element is earth/plants, is, as it turns out, friends with Merlin. So she decides to join the good guys on account of how she doesn't really want to help destroy the Earth, and because she's just a great deal less murdery than her sisters in general. But of course, in order for the gruesome twosome to trigger Armageddon, they need Leaf Girl, and also MacGuffin, which coincidentally our team found in the past and brought back to the future with them. Needless to say, since the forces of good have 2 things that the baddies need for their plan to succeed, we seem to have a pretty good chance of winning. But then, in order to trap the evil sorceresses in what turns out to be a disappointingly temporary time loop, Jim just gives them the MacGuffin. No satisfactory explanation is given for this action. They almost immediately escape the time trap, the TrollHunter amulet gets destroyed in the chaos, and the show ends with Isidux and the Green Lady going on the run. I realize I was much more thorough with my rundown of Wizards than I was with the other 2, which isn't saying much since I barely talked about the other 2 at all. But that's because, honestly, I assume I'm the only one silly enough to have stuck with this ridiculous franchise this long. But it's only 1 season, so it wasn't that bad. Besides, its infuriating cliffhanger ending directly sets up the plot of the movie, and since the movie is what I really want to talk about, I figured it's important. Having stuck with the franchise thus far, I was basically contractually obligated to check out this follow-up movie, which should, presumably, act as an epilogue to the whole series, cap off the cliffhangers, and resolve dangling plot threads. A hefty task, but one the franchise, and Wizards in particular, desperately needed, and I had cautious hope for an actual proper ending this time. Oh, how naive I was. We open, after a few minutes spent trying to recap 3 television shows, on a seemingly empty train. Duxie is there, and the Earth Sorceress. They're done running, and they've set a trap. Krell has invented some magic-dampening laser with which our group hopes to incapacitate the evil sorceresses, so they may be handily defeated. The plan goes about as well as you might imagine, given that this is the beginning of the movie. Volcana and Killer Frost escape with the body of Poison Ivy. The train almost crashes into a storefront, and our party goes to jail. They break out almost immediately, and regroup to come up with a plan. Aja comes back for a visit, Palchuk kisses her, which somehow makes him get pregnant because something aliens, something guys getting pregnant funny, haha. And that is his entire character arc for the rest of the movie. Pepperjack is normal human size now, which has no significance to the actual plot, but someone took time to make him a new character model, so the movie takes time to comment on it. He does literally nothing for the rest of the movie, except act as midwife for Palchuk. They argue for a while about what to do. Aja gives Jim a new amulet, which she had made on Acaridian 5. The evil sorceresses attempt to trigger Ragnarok, but turns out Duxie switched souls with Green Lady on the train, so it doesn't work. They cast a counterspell. Not Duxie has a magic seizure and spouts something vague and prophetic before promptly passing out. Everyone is back to their proper body now, but that's not great for our group, so they track down Green Lady's magic signature or something, and Claire conjures a shadow portal to take them to her location. But they're outmatched. Jim's new amulet doesn't work, and they're too late anyway. 3 giant elemental golems, ice, fire, and earth, are already rising from the planet's core. If they fuse, game over. So the party splits up, obviously. Claire heads up the contingent to fetch the MacGuffin mentioned in the prophecy. Why she only takes Blinky and the cat is anyone's guess, but before they can do anything, they have to recruit Duxie's familiar's dad, aka Charlemagne, because he knows where the MacGuffin is. And then they're off to the troll market, China edition. Duxie teams up with that female changeling that Jim converted way back in TrollHunter, and my main man, Arg, to take on the Earth Golem in Brazil. They fail spectacularly. The changeling gets a little too much direct sunlight and turns to stone. Sad. Jim's mom, Strickler, Toby, and Aja take the giant flying castle. Yes, there's a giant flying castle. Just go with it. To the Arctic in an ultimately futile attempt to destroy the Ice Titan. Strickler dies saving Jim. Rip. Vervatos Vex, by himself, takes Mech to China to face off against the lava golem. During the fight, the entrance to the Chinese troll market is destroyed. Charlemagne gets stuck inside on account of how he's so big, and the cat dragon decides to stay with him so he won't be lonely there, I guess. Everyone else gets out fine, even Vex, whose escape pod launches just before his mech melts into nothing. They fail to stop the lava titan, though, and Claire portals them home. Another planning sesh. They try to figure out the weird prophecy thing again, but I guess it's too vague. Duxie insists on trying again with the tree lady and her titan. This time it succeeds. Sort of. They shake her out of her mind control via the power of friendship, mixed with a little magic, and she rejoins the good side. Claire portals them all to the Ice Witch, who is on her way to Arcadia, apparently. Friendly Poison Ivy fights Killer Frost, and they both turn to dust. You would, at this point, be reasonable in thinking that we've won. I mean, they needed all 3 for their plan to succeed, right? But plot twist, they only actually need 1 Titan, and they weren't fusing with each other, but rather with a special Heartstone. Specifically, the last primordial Heartstone, which just so happens to be the Heartstone beneath Arcadia Oaks. Because of course it is. Arcadia is the center of the universe, after all. If you haven't seen the movie, you might think I'm joking. But no, Arcadia being the actual center of the universe is not only 100% canon, it's also plot relevant. They meet back in town, which has been evacuated. The Camelot contingent apparently had no trouble, other than the usual struggles with retrieving Excalibur. Oh, yeah, they sent a team to get Excalibur from the past. Must have been pretty uneventful, though, since we haven't seen them since they left to find it. None of them could pull the sword from the stone, so they just bring it, stone and all. Everyone expects Jim to be able to pull it, but no. Yada yada, something about a prophecy, yada yada, power of friendship, you know the drill. So they all pull the sword out together. Why they had to pull out the sword at all, when all they actually wanted was the gem in the hilt, the world may never know. But it works, and Jim takes the jewel out of the handle and sends the Taka guy off to Merlin's workshop to replace the alien power source that came with the new amulet with the gem from Excalibur. And while he's doing that, the rest of the team rushes to head off the magma monster and its rider before, they can destroy the world. Cue action sequence. The good guys are taking a beating, but just as all seems lost, the amulet flies in, giving Jim the upper hand. But then he gets stabbed, and all seems lost again until Toby drives in and shoots Lava Lady with Chekhov's magic suppressor ray gun just in the nick of time. Did I mention the Lava Lady has eyeballs in her shoulders? This is never explained. Jim cuts her in half with his new sword, and the giant lava titan collapses. Toby gets crushed in the rubble, but survives long enough to say a few last words, and it's all supposed to be very poignant and sad, but Jim's voice actor apparently forgot how to act for this recording session, and the whole scene just comes off as funny. And it's at this moment you realize that the movie has maybe 12 minutes left, and they haven't used the MacGuffin. Jim cuts open the casing, and a stone is revealed. Everyone somehow immediately understands that this stone, once inserted into the amulet, will take Jim back in time, and he'll be able to fix things. Nobody even questions it. I thought it was weird that they were all talking to him like he was going to die or completely reset their entire journey together. Claire made him promise that they would still meet. Like what? I thought he would just go back to the beginning of the movie and use his foreknowledge to make sure everyone survived. More fool me. Jim puts the stone in the amulet and wakes up in episode 1 of TrollHunter. We accompany him as he relives the major moments from the episode, altering them as he chooses. He invites Strickler to dinner to meet his mom earlier. He auditions for the school play, and most significantly, he sends Toby to find the amulet. Now, I thought that this was a nice gesture, but thoughtless. Toby will be so disappointed when the magical amulet he found chooses Jim instead of him. But no. Apparently, the amulet really isn't picky at all. It really is just ready to grant its fantastical powers to any Joe Schmo that picks it up from the rubble. And then something in me just broke. It's the "it was all a dream" trope on steroids, and it doesn't just devalue and undo the whole movie I just watched, no. It completely destroys the entire franchise. All these moments, all that character development, every episode and subplot, retconned into obscurity. But not out of existence, because without them, Jim wouldn't have gone back in time to change the timeline. So at best, it's an alternate timeline? Look, I don't know how time travel affects the timeline in this universe. Oh wait, I do. As you may recall from our visit to Camelot back in Wizards, it creates stable time loops. That's what it does. Except now suddenly it doesn't. Like maybe the rules work differently for different methods of time travel, or travel within versus outside of one's own time stream. So if you go back past your own timeline, you create a time loop, but if you travel along your own timeline, the time stream... You know what? On second thought, no. Nope. Not gonna do it. You need to figure out how time travel works in your universe and follow the rules you established previously. But it's too late for that now, and I hate everything about this. 3 out of 10, would not recommend. Nothing actually mattered. They completely retconned not only the whole movie, which would have been mildly annoying but understandable, but also 3 whole series of interconnected stories, world building, and character development. And they can't even be logically consistent with their own established rules. Way to ruin a perfectly good franchise. Maybe that's just a me problem.